Out here really from the streets of Los Angeles, man. Just, trying to make everything what it is, bro, right now, man. Hold it down for the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I get over here, I leave my tutorials on here. You know what I'm saying? I check out the street, we check out wildlife, we check out the community. You know what I'm saying? We try to get rid of waste and abuse right here in our community. So I'm a young man who's basically been doing, you know what I'm saying, some uploading on my channel. You know what I'm saying? To really kind of bring it home, man, to say, man, this is what we need to change in LA, man. You know what I'm saying? All this blood and cripping, all this, nonsense and negativity, homie. You know, seeing all these migrants and immigrants, people Florida, pour into our nation, our soil. You know what I'm saying? In our country, blood in this way, homie. You know what I'm saying? That's out. You know what I'm saying? We need things for ourselves in our country. You know what I'm saying? We need better, options and opportunities for our community to have something to go on. You know what I mean? The people in the community, our peers, our family, our loved ones, people that have built on houses, you know what I'm saying? Generations of people that have a house, a roof over their head, better works in the community. We need that help right here in the community. Better business, job leads, job opportunities. We need that help. So like I say, man, we're right here in LA, man, trying to do it big right now, man. And promote good health, good well-being, good hygiene, good education. They're trying to get rid of the Department of Education, dismantling all 50 states because of Medicaid fraud and Medicare fraud, and all these illegal immigrants coming here. You know what I'm saying? Knowing how to work our system better than us as American people, stealing all these benefits that, supposed to be benefiting American lives and help saving American lives, with Medicaid benefits and things like that. So, like I say, every day of our life, we got to be a lot more aware of these, these changes around us, man. And, what can, put that burden on us, to kind of set us back and, have us going through some of the worst things we could have experienced right here in LA, man. So, in other counties too, as well as other states, throughout the United States of America. We want to make it more weller for us to be, here in America, having those options and opportunities. So like I say, every day we got to be a lot more aware of what these changes is like, man, with these immigrants that came too, man, because these, looked at as illegal, suspect ass people, you know what I'm saying? So we want to make sure that we have our shit together, man, and we really out here for all the right purposes, making all the right decisions about, whether the community or, law figures or, things like that. So, we got to make sure that we on point about all this, man. We can't just let these motherfuckers keep passing with our job opportunities and jobs and having these job positions and filling these job positions with illegal aliens, you feel me? They go in and do all these half-ass, have jobs, and ain't really doing nothing to, benefit the American people. You know what I'm saying? So you see a lot of Americans without jobs getting laid off. You see these migrants moving up in the world, and in our world, which is the United States of America and all 50 states of the U.S. Ain't nobody caring for us, man. We got to care for ourselves, man. Be bigger, better people to care for ourselves and say that's what the problem is and, vote these people out, man. You know what I'm saying? F1 visas, green cards, all that didn't expire for these people. They denied their own self coming here illegally, committing all type of criminal offenses. You know what I'm saying? Having a dirty background, you know what I'm saying? For rape, molestation, sexual assault, sexual battery. You know what I'm saying? You name it. They had these backgrounds, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, have all the things that we have for ourselves that, they didn't got a hold of. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a real burden on us. We had these things all of a sudden, they didn't went to migrants. You know what I'm saying? These job positions that went to migrants. These careers and all these things are filled by migrants behind the desk. You feel me? This is things that we noticed since kids, bro, trying to work our way up, with job working permits. You know what I'm saying? At 16 even, you know what I'm saying? So, some of these young at 16 able to work after leaving high school, a little bit before leaving high school, getting the workers permit. So, these people have seen the same thing, as working people and people with a career, compared to the average person just sitting at home, saying, hey, well, this is the problem and why we can't get a job. We see the same problem. So, it's because of the migrants and, what I'm saying, all these essays and Sureños and Southern Mexicans and Central Americans as Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, MS-13 gang members, 18th Street gang members, Trendy Aragua gang members, coming here straight illegally and not caring about us on our soil, homie. So this is just, another topic that I chose to speak up on and upload on my channel and say, man, we need to get on it, man. We need to start, as American people, start, getting out here saying, man, if you're a real American, you understand America, you had that real American dream kicking for yourself, you really want to see the American dream fulfilled, we got to start pressing better issues. We got to start becoming better people to say, man, we're not going to let these migrants just, overrule or overstep us. We're going to go for badges. We're going to go for real, forms of identification to see if these migrants is actually in the right position to even be here working under a green card. All that is expired. So anybody here working legally with a green card, you got to go back home. You got to go back to your home country to start all over again and come here with a better pass, than the green card that was accepted at first. Because everything to change. Trump got rid of all that right now. You know what I mean? Everything is different right now, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the streets right now. I'm uploading on this channel myself right now. I'm taking a tour of the streets. Went to MacArthur, went to all these poor parts of downtown LA. And, you know, you have filthy, inhumane individuals smoking fentanyl and crystal meth, methamphetamine, LSD, you know, PCP, heroin, other addictive drugs, crack cocaine, you know what I mean? And I mean fentanyl and I mean everything that you can think of, you know, cigarettes, I mean getting drunk, you know, being alcoholics, you know what I'm saying, taking hits and you know, snorting, injecting themselves with needles and syringes. And all this shit is crazy, man, because that's all you're going to get out of the streets right here, man. You ain't going to get nothing beautiful out of the streets, man, unless you help make change to the streets. So I'm a young man, you know what I'm saying, who's been victimized by the 18th Street Gang, as well as, you know, being a victim to African-American street gangs. You know, it's black American street gangs consider themselves black Americans, but, you know, you get, you know, so much trash out of these people, so much abuse out of these people, so many assault charges out of these people, so many, you know, burglaries, robberies, and homicides, and home invasions, and, you know what I'm saying, just, you know, all this unthinkable crap out of these people that's negative crap to think of, and then a lesson on do, and do to the American person, homie, that you can't think of the average black American or brown person as a simply American, you know, neutralized, civilized, Americanized person. You can't, you know what I'm saying, necessarily sit up there and lie to yourself and say this baby is all right in the neighborhood and he won't terrorize, disturb, or disrupt, or become a nuisance around the neighborhood. How can you say that to yourself when that's all you're getting out of black American people? You know what I'm saying? And African Americans, or predominantly African American blacks who ain't coming about so well after slavery or segregation or whatever they, you know, enslaved, you know, excuse is to be terrible people. Crack cocaine addictions, you name it, you know. Since the epidemic, you know, you have a lot of African Americans hooked on crack cocaine, not finding a job, you know, all this setback kind of, you know, these problems. So naturally, I don't want that for myself. My kids, my grandkids, whatever, I don't want that for myself, homie. You feel me? You know, giving them that product, giving them that say so, that okay to be like other motherfuckers like that, you must be on crack. You feel me? You must indeed, you know, the pookie. You feel me? You must, you know, lost yourself there. So, you know what I'm saying? As a person like me, homie, you want to have more strength than that, homie. You want to be a lot more powerful than that and overcome all this shit that's around you and not fall for this shit and get suckered in and under this crap and just be a better person. You feel me? Somebody with a lot more ability and strength and well-being and good sense of humor, good sense of intelligence, and another way, another path, a way around shit, homie, that comes and bite us in our ass every turn around a shootout even. You feel me? Not being able to come up and down the street good to get to a mom and pop store that's well enough for just going there and buy a few groceries, you feel me, and get back home safe. So, you know, this is things that we have to study and understand about the streets before we even trying to get out there in the street. You know what I mean? Getting from home to school to home. You know, it's a dangerous move to make when you got an infested community to walk through, pass through in a vehicle or whatever. You know, that didn't draw the wrong kind of attention to you. To where these gang members is infested. You know, they inhumane, they out here with, you know, Sherm in their system, all kind of crazy shit that kind of, you know, prevent us from being natural people. So yeah, as a young man who want to see some change, you're going to do these documents. You're going to get out here and try to make change and change for the better and change within time and change for the better within time, you know, to have it for yourself, you know, to get out here and really press a better issue, to see the streets come about a lot better, the next generation not be so sucked in negativity and gang violence and gang activity that shatters so many lives and do harm to so many other people in their lives. You know what I'm saying? We want to be better than that, homie. So this is the same born leaders of Original Domain Gang, infamous Village Town Boys Gang, Creole Mafia organization, the Creoles in Los Angeles Creoles of color. So like I say, man, we putting on, man. We just, you know, trying to take these communities one day at a time for what it's worth, to be bigger, stronger people over what we do, homie, and not give the wrong impression, but always try to get the right impression, to give, you know, a little more strength in the mind of these people who've been, you know, shattered by these wrongdoing people, been, you know, victimized by these wrongdoing people, to help, you know, help these people rebuild and reclaim and rebuild their lives one day at a time. Operation, you know, Reclaim and Rebuild been a lot, you know, to get a bunch of children back in the hands of the right people who's been molested, sexually assaulted, you know, kidnapped, raped, you know what I'm saying, stashed them where they would have never been found, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, they kind of, you know, got turned up there, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, was found, and, you know, made, you know, plenty of arrests just recent for the research that I did. So that's amazing that Trump is, you know, a Republican Party who's really, you know what I'm saying, somebody who's saying hell with that. You know, let's really look into, you know, the country in the right way and not get that wrong impression that, you know, we just gonna let the country slip for the next 4 years or his next term, or however long his term lasts, to, you know what I'm saying, kind of just say he did his job up there. No, he actually went going behind the desk saying that, you know, this is not right, that these migrants coming here unlawfully, pouring into our country, competed with Biden, you know, and his effort, and, you know, what the difference is between Trump's effort and Biden's effort before, you know what I'm saying, Trump got a second term in office, you know, as the 47th president. And the whole thing is, man, you got to keep up with all this, you know, this news, man. You got to, you know, watch the news. I mean, catch up with the news, stay in tune to the news, you know what I'm saying, and understand that, you know what I'm saying, this is really being broadcast for the American people to understand what's going on in the world. Even if you ain't, you know, in authority to control what's going on, you still need to know, you know, what the U.S. government is talking about, what the L.A. County mayor is talking about, what the, you know, what the state is talking about, period, is local state government officials go, and federal government officials go, legislative government, executive, you know what I'm saying, and judicial government branches go, you know, and what their authority is like, because who has their hands on our authority as American people, who's in control of our authority behind that desk in a Democratic or Republican way, you know, who's really controlling the United States? We got immigrants controlling the United States, or is these gang members, these motherfuckers that's off the hook thinking they influencing us even to be gang members in earlier days, having control of the United States, getting behind the desk, stealing these funds and benefits? Who the hell is in control? I'm a young man. I don't want to be sacrificed by no big home. I'm my own big home. You feel me? I run my own street gang. I build on my own community as a gang leader, you know, who know right from wrong here in America. You know what I'm saying? Original young gangster, homie. Born to use of original domain and helped found the Creole Mafia as a young blood of that religion and background. So, you know what I'm saying? I got real self-experience, homie. You know what I'm saying? I need to just see how we can improve as American people and build on our lives one day at a time to become stronger, more powerful, more weller, more intelligent, more achievable American people. So I don't, you know, I don't get involved with negativity. I'm not looking, you know, past the gang life to not help anybody anymore. You know, to say I'm better than anybody. You know, because I'm a gang leader myself. I know what it took. You know, I'd have been shot out in the street. I'd have been juvenile halls, Camp Carl Holton, Challenger. I'd have been to East Lake Central Juvenile Hall, just right downtown. You know what I'm saying? Seymour in the Y unit. I'd have been, you know, on almost hardcore floors. You know, Wayside, the motherfucking Supermax at Wayside, North County Correctional Facility, Twin Towers Correctional Facility, and the old men's jail downtown, men's central jail, MCJ downtown. So, you know, I done been there, done that. You know, my life is not based on negativity no more. I done been, you know, like I said, a victim to the 18th Street gang and random drive-by shootings coming about randomly, just choosing to shoot at fools and, you know, go back and forth and retaliate or whatever, you know, the situation might be. You know what I'm saying? So far as these situations go, you know what I'm saying? And like I say, they done lit me up, you know, just standing out somewhere. So it ain't that I retaliated, it ain't that I, you know, gave my life to the streets in this old domestic ass, you know, shoot 'em up, bang, bang ass way, tearing down the streets. I always try to look past, you know what I'm saying, my problems, you feel me, and overcome these obstacles so I can achieve as many goals as I try to achieve in life as much as possible. So like I say, being hit by a straight bullet, you ain't gonna never want to feel the heat, not know what really hit you or bit you. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? And why they actually did it, you know, especially that young as I was, you know what I'm saying, being a young pup. So like I say, you get a lot of retaliation, you get a lot of, you know, shit that kind of eats you up and say, hey, I'm next. You know, I've been shot before, I'm next again. You know, is they gonna retaliate again and come around and shoot me again? So, you know what I'm saying, you gotta be a lot more prepared. That's why you got a lot of kids out here, you know, dealing drugs and trying to make money to buy guns and, you know, stock up on guns and, you know, have a little apartment, a little, you know what I'm saying, cut where they can, you know, call a cut. And say they own life because you got all these immigrants running them off. You know, you got blacks not even treating their people well, acting the same as these Mexicans, black and brown, acting the same as each other, and black on black, you know, just ain't getting no better. So you see black on black violence, African Americans fighting amongst each other, and they just shattering each other's life. You don't want to keep seeing the same repeat when you don't really have to indulge or get involved with another gang that's just as terrible as what you see in your daily life. So you know not to really, you know what I'm saying, get involved with African American people. So that's something I just kind of completely stay away from. I'm a born leader of original domain, alternative Black Street Gang Alliance. So it ain't a full deal situation anyway. I'm American, you feel me? So I'm not using another background or enslaved background to say, hey, I'm here as a citizen that can do right, but then turn around and break the rules. You know, I'm an actual American person, you know what I mean? So I'm not dealing with no migrants as predominantly African American. That's just my own, you know, opinion about the whole situation and know what I experienced out here in the streets of LA. So, you know, you can get mad, you can throw haters, you know, hater moves in there, whatever, bro don't know what he talking about, whatever, you know, but y'all holding up the space in the neighborhood. Y'all ain't really down moves. Y'all worship African American heritage to where that's Raymond. That's the east side, with him influencing 2 times NACs before they actually turned 2 times NACs before the 80s. So, you know what I'm saying, this is the east side Crips, original east side Crips. You know what I'm saying? What you got, the Avalon 88s, Avalon Garden Crips, the 73rd Street Born and Jack Crips, 43rd Street Gangster Crips, as East Side Crips, 4-pack Crips, Raymond and his 6-pack Crips, you know, as original East Side Crips, and then, you know, the East Coast Crip identity, and then added the NAC to it at the 62nd Street, you know what I'm saying, got they noetry as the East Coast is on the east side, is East Side Crips, so they become, later years, NACs, East Coast Crips, Neighborhood Crips, 62nd. you know, and the rest follows as the 6-pack, 6'6", 6'8", and 6'9", Shack Boys, East Coast. These are the old street gangs. You know what I'm saying? That kind of literally, you know what I'm saying, gave the African American impression of LA. Otherwise, you wouldn't just see no precincts of African Americans in LA. You wouldn't have seen too many black and brown communities flourish, like these gang leaders starting up, you know what I'm saying, their communities for African American people. So that's where them predominantly African American influences come from. And they ain't coming out of the hills, they ain't coming out of Baldwin Hills. T. Rogers originated out of Chicago. So you can get the hood messed up. This infamous Village Blood. You know what I'm saying? Infamous Village Boys for short, infamous Village Town Boys gang. You know, just a little after the Jays. You know, so we just getting a 20 years starting the game, maybe get 25, 30 years. So it's just literally a little after the jungles kick in. By 2005, the whole Baldwin Village changed. So I got that whole rep on paperwork and all that, while my neighborhood even, you know, changed and become a whole different kind of neighborhood, which it is today, you know. But you still got peace thrown around on the other side of the fence, and, you know, sharing the same kind of community within the same boundaries as an African American, black, Muslim street gang. You know, we free people of color, Creoles of color out of the Baldwin Hills, Baldwin Village, Village Green, Baldwin Vista area. You know, unlike the lower part of Baldwin Hills, the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw district, like Baldwin Village area. So we don't really, you know, try to scoop that low, you know, and mingle too much with the jungles that's still around. You know, they basically got hit with the gang injunction, a whole bunch of other, you know, problems, to where we've been trying to clear them out. We've been having problems with them since the Park Boys clique and, you know, some earlier years. So, you know, so I go back to 2005, where the jungles, like, literally get hit with the gang injunction and clear out. We started up our own little clique around, you know, the jungle, the Baldwin Hill Village from like 2003, forming simply Village Town Boys gang in the Baldwin Village. So, you know what I'm saying, it was VTBG 2003 is what we had tagged, you know, or VTB03, and let you know we the Village Town Boys gang, and that was our founder year. And it wasn't nothing, you know, blood or Crip. It wasn't that kind of party. So, you know, in the hills, it was a little different. You know, you had other little cliques, Hot Boys at Dorsey High School around 01, 02 at the time. You had DHT, you know, it was in the same area as us before we actually got started and was able to form as a little clique at first. So you had the Doing Harmful Things gang, and just right across the way west of La Brea, you know, and before that it was the Baldwin Hill Gangsters in the area as trays, as Gangster Crips. So we didn't really care for the Gangster Crips. They played out by late 80s, early 90s, a little after the shootout right there, the theater that was right there at La Brea and Coliseum, you know, underground theater. Once that got shot up at the Boys in the Hood came out in 91, you know, the Baldwin Hill Gangster Crips, they hood basically played out, got shattered by the jungles, you know, basically the Jays, basically kind of, you know, had a new generation coming up, which is my generation. And once we came up, you know, we was told to not let them through, you know, as Gangster Crips or 2 Times in ACs, 18th Street Gang just shot up the Jays in 94. So, you know, this is just all right neck and neck, just probably a few years apart, but just a repeat offense. You know, it's a cycle. We're seeing that kind of violence and negativity, like I was telling you. So the neighborhood became the neighborhood. We ended up giving it the name Village Town Boys Gang, or the infamous Village Town Boys Gang, by 2003. And by 05, adjusted with the Black Peace Stone, and since then been having problems with the Park Boy clique over in the jungle. So, you know, naturally, that's how we get started. Our hood colors, naturally, is olive green, forest green, cherry red, hunter's green, hunter's green, cherry red, olive green, forest green, and you know, maroon. So that's the hood colors right there. You know, mainly olive green and maroon, and, you know, whatever, you know, or whatever bloodbath red. You could say that kind of red color, but really maroon and the olive green color is really the infamous Village Town Boys Gang traditional hood color. But we also do wear other colors, you know, even fire orange sometimes that come up, you know, because of my name, you know, being the leader, the saint, you know, in the character. So, you know, unlike the blue eyes that he carries, you see I don't got blue eyes, but, you know, we kind of run with that too as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, it's an ongoing thing with me as a leader, you know what I'm saying, as well as a few of my recruits that I be advertising, you know, getting on camera, you know, as well as, you know, maybe just say a few other blood members, or, you know, simply infamous Village Town Boys gang members, Creole Mafia members, or as a higher authority since 90s, Creole Mafia members, you know, to kind of be more of a representative, you know, for what we have to come for the people. and all my followers and believers of, our Creole heritage, Creole Martial Organization. So, like I say, this is real big to me, homie. Just believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself. If you don't believe in nothing else, try to believe in positive things and be a more of a positive person. Try to excel in all kinds of intellectual activities, give you the edge, the basic discussions to help you excel in all kind of achievable activities, and and well things for yourself, to be able to pass and have things for yourself, good educational things and knowledge and education. So like I say, man, just always be aware of, what real life has to offer you. Not the gang life, not an enclosed neighborhood, not a gang infested neighborhood with only so many impressions to give you before you done got packed out by your homies, robbed, burglarized yourself, beat up, and kind of stripped from, you living a normal life even, being put in check, being, DP, being, forced to go put in work that you really don't want to do. So, always try to keep your head above water. We be going through the jungles, trying to, roll up as many peace stones as we can, to bring the hood to light, you know what I mean? The hood been around for 20 years, claiming west of the Baldwin Village and the Village Green. So, like I say, you always want to be, a lot more cautious about these gang-infested communities, with the changes it's like in these communities, and always just try to be, a sensible person, a well person, to have that authority and control, and, some say-so in the community, and not be prohibited, from participating in certain community activities, or, being prohibited, from even being in certain parts of the community, being restricted to, be at a park, a local recreational center that, you don't wore out your welcome in. So, you want to be like them con artists. You want to be the real deal that can really circulate, make things happen for the community, kind of step out of the community, go help other communities, other businesses, other, corporate businesses, and these wholesale businesses, and get your hands on real business opportunities and job leads, and, have these job leads flourish so everybody can just try to make it out and have something, become bigger, better people. That's the main thing, homie. You can't be getting this old in the game and still got that little kid born premature, immature state of mind. A lot of gangbangers just toe up on that itself. Don't go take their medication, ain't got good mental health advice, and, sense. So, these babies get out here on the same drugs, getting hooked on the same addictions, falling off, falling short, don't go to ADAP right. It's a bunch of different programs that they say they help people, overcome these drug addictions and crack cocaine addictions and heroin addictions, or, meth addictions or whatever. But, you don't see a lot of these people fulfilled. They end up still hooked on drugs and, falling out and, getting into it over big drug distributions and, wanting to be, informant for the drug dealer, and, they go out and, lose their mind and come up missing and, be turned over and found dead off overdoses. It's all there, homie, for you to catch, if you want to go down the wrong path. But, I always try to encourage people, right, to kind of keep their heads above water, not to commit murder, not to carry guns or weapons people want to force on you. My hood ain't like that, bro. We only, doing this for the youngsters, something to change their mind on it, homie. I've been there, done that. I don't want to see the penitentiary. I've been to the penitentiary. I've been to the county jail. I've been to juvenile halls, camps. I've been on probation. I've damn near, almost been on parole with a strike. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to feel the heat. I'm not trying to, have that burden on me, in my daily life. It's best to always just, understand that the streets is no joke, homie. It's always out here to find you. You got to be looking for trouble. Trouble will find you. So always know how to avoid trouble. Always try to be aware of what, what kind of people around you, so you ain't got to suffer from these consequences that they do. Because once they caught, they caught. Once they get caught with them drugs or that dirty gun, sometimes it's life for them. They on their last strike. So, you got to watch people on parole and probation and, want to mess up. We trying to change the hood. We want to, still rock our title and our gang culture, but it's how you do things. You feel me? It's how you make a change to, your environment. How you give back to your environment and your community and your surroundings. You feel me? And talk to your peers. You feel me? Your race of people. You feel me? And really try to join forces with that kind of, activity around your neighborhood, instead of committing all the type of wrong activity and giving the wrong impression and having a bad image, a bad background and some type of, the wrong kind of say-so around the neighborhood, and you still, getting put in question about, what kind of authority you got. You want to shake all that, homie, and just, kind of understand that, real life is, serious. Take it for what it's worth. You got a lot of immigrants laughing in your face, passing with the things that you need for yourself, that you don't have, that they have, that you need, that they don't need, that they have. So, they robbing us. They taking everything that we got that we need to gain, homie. And like I say, I'm on that every day, homie. We doing some real investigation about the streets of LA, upload it on my channel. I want you to leave your comments, thoughts, and opinions. Give me your feedback. Leave your comments, thoughts, and opinions. Give me some type of feedback. You feel me? Or whatever. You got questions or concerns, to ask me, go ahead and drop it on me. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't, mind it, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Let you have it, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Like I say, man, it's not about blood and cripping. It's not about, you know what I'm saying, overriding the next person because they ain't aware, what the difference is nowadays. Like I said, a lot of immigrants, they think they legal, man. But Trump didn't, ban your whole race from pouring into our country so illegally, you know what I'm saying? The legal migrants that work to be here, they got to start all over again. They got to go back home for a new green card. Those green cards, rules, and regulations have changed. So just so you're aware, homie, we need our American society. We don't need y'all taking our jobs. We don't need y'all, victimizing our American people, robbing, doing harm to our hardworking American people that's at least trying to have these jobs and had to, be faced with these migrants and wrongdoing people, knowing they passing in the wrong way. So I'm glad Trump did what he did. You know what I'm saying? Get rid of African migrants too. He banned the whole Africa on strict travel restrictions and, really got them kind of, in check right there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how people come here to our great American society anyway, and, do damage to us. Lace with fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? And set us up, for murder and, prostitution and rape and, forced sex trafficking and human trafficking. So this is all the stuff that we got to try to dismantle one day at a time. I'm going to be more stronger, powerful black people. For all you African migrants, I can't feel sorry for you. I'm not from Africa. I didn't bang that I was from Africa while I was here. I wasn't trying to act out, and torture shit while I was here, as an African American person. If I'm full African American, I might have some type of African DNA, just wasn't necessarily a predominantly African American individual. So we didn't ever approve of African American. We became our own alternative black street gang, alliance dealing with the Creole culture, Creole background, other type of admixture type of, racial background. So it wasn't necessarily based on Africa and they African American religion or African religion or heritage. That's something that we just didn't approve of. That, I've been here 34 years of my life as an American person with natural, neutralized citizenship. You feel me? Actual Social Security card, didn't work to be here, nothing. Was born into America. Simply American, you feel me? And can't nobody break me from that, homie. I'm right here in America all day long. I was born leader of original domain. You feel me? The Los Angeles born leaders of original domains gang, right here. Creole's Mafia organization, infamous village town boys gang. Like I say this to say, we work hard every day to keep our community. We work hard every day to bring it home to the community and, strengthen our lives one day at a time as American people who want to grow from the community and, be able to have better options throughout our county and other greater areas of LA County, right here in Southern California, right here, when we really just kind of was able to, be, stronger people, we want to, help make it more powerful, more stronger, more weller. We understand that, this is us, right here in LA. This is our soil, this is our land, these is our schools, this is our grocery markets, this is our, home, what we call home. We can actually call that our residential street without having to worry about a gang, or, so many other gangs trying to do the same thing as we, us, and we all go out here and commit murder. And it ain't the right way to go. Now we all looking suspect and can't have our freedom back. So it'd be good to see a change and still be able to do us and improve our lives at the same time as American people who've been, through the same situations as a lot of other people around us who don't really deserve to be here, especially gangs. That's one of the main problems we got to tackle. Big drug lords, drug dealers, open air operations, drug operations, and drug enterprises, and all these problems. You feel me? Murders. You gotta get these murder solved. Missing persons reports going up all the time. Somebody coming up missing. So you want to always make sure that you're aware of your kids. Their safety. Who dealing with them at these schoolhouses? Who had authority over them at these schoolhouses and these programs that we putting them in to help improve and enliven these programs, so we know that they're all right when they get out of our hands. This is hard work. First of all, our housing program, you got, good people, and kind of, Scott Turner, all these guys, Jeffrey and all them, Hakeem Jeffrey and all those guys trying to work at housing and hood and try to bring on better housing situations for us, and end homelessness and, give us better housing opportunities and, better advice on housing and how to work our magic with Section 8, what benefits Section 8 now, what the changes like with Section 8, trying to, make sure that American people is not being robbed for their Section 8 housing assistance and their benefits and, things like that. So I got Section 8 too myself. I was blessed to lead out of the Baldwin Village after my mama passed with Section 8. So this is my real true story. I mean, that's like no joke. This is the infamous Village Town Boys gang. You talking to the leader right here. You feel me? I don't have any guns or weapons on me, homie. I'm here to talk about it, try to get the neighborhood back on its feet as an Americanized community and not be so gang infested or negative. So like I said, I'll be working at the Baldwin Village too. That'll be also the infamous Village Town Boys gang out to Crenshaw once we establish the situation. Now, you know what I'm saying? You got an older generation of P Stones who might still be around, but these guys is kind hearted. You know, T. Rogers has passed away, unfortunately, from COVID-19 back August 19, 2021. And me and him already had, you know, a discussion about the blood alliance. You know what I'm saying? And get involved with the blood. So, you know what I'm saying? Born as the original domain was a newer identity I had for the Los Angeles Bloods. You know, unlike the Black P Stone Bloods or the Black P Stone Nation, which originated out of Chicago, I'm a Los Angeles home-based blood gang member, you know, that grew up in the jungle. So I'm a leader of the Bloods. I'm a founder of the Bloods, not just a blood gang member who kind of follow a certain blood gang and, you know, deal with certain recruits or members of these, you know, blood organizations. I'm an actual founder who founded the blood organization, who bit from the blood identity and helped form the blood identity and give it meaning. So that's who I am. Everybody asks, oh, is that the dog? Is that Pat the dog? Is that H the dude from BPS? H the dude from you know, from Ainge, you know, so I get some ass, so, you know, ain't you the slob nigga that, you know, the Bang B, or, you know, ain't you that main blood nigga that be over there in the jungle and, you know, around there on August. So I get all those questions all the time, you feel me? Out of Crips, Bloods, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's me, homie, but like I say, homie, my get down is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, the neighborhood in the Baldwin Village, that's a whole different twist now, you feel me? So that won't be Peach Stone, that won't be, you know, the nation, something that I really first kind of fell out of favor with, you know what I'm saying? So if you listen to the story, you know what I'm saying. Like I say, leave comments, thoughts, and opinions. You know, we can answer all that, homie, like I say, but you better be having your ears and eyes open, homie, you know, catch the news, bro, because, like I say, homie, we all in the news, bro. This face known. I don't care about negativity. I don't care about no drama, frustration, what nobody going through. Don't bring it my way. I won't bring it your way. This is only for entertainment purposes and for what reality is like for us here in Los Angeles, to save our life, to bring better opportunities to the community, and I'm letting you know about myself. So like I say, homie, I'm a real one. I don't, you know, I don't keep going back and forth. This is my story. This is where I'm coming from as a young adult, the Saint, Pat the Saint. I also go by Little St. Patrick, Pat the Dog, or Pat the Saint. You know, a Big YB, formerly known as Big Young Blood, or Big Yellow Boy. You know what I'm saying? I had a few nicknames, man, in my younger day, but main thing is, you know what I'm saying, we was the Bloods. We had a grip on our gang identity and, you know, our Creole Mafia organization trying to form over, you know what I'm saying, something that we bid off of to become something more, to know about ourselves more, and then it worked, homie, you know what I'm saying? I ended up becoming one of the main Bloods, unlike, you know, predominantly African-American black gang leaders. I was, you know what I'm saying, a Creole color, and my third generation of the Bloods who actually was able to form as, you know what I'm saying, somebody with some sense of authority. So, you know what I'm saying, that was where I stood as a young blood, original young gangster, you feel me? Whether, you know what I'm saying, they care to mention or not, homie, that's my rank. I got it all on paperwork, it's all on my criminal background, was hit with the permanent injunction, you know what I'm saying, did my 10 years, and, you know what I'm saying, they released me from all hell, you know what I'm saying? So it ain't that I did 10 years in the pen, none of that shit, you know, I don't lie about my reputation. You know, they had me on a 10-year gang enhancement, you feel me, hid my case, all kind of shit, and had me as one of the worst. So, you know, I'm glad to be free from all that. They sent me a letter saying they had finally let it all go, you know, that, you know, I'm being accused of being a primary gang member of the Los Angeles Bloods or the Black P Stone Bloods, and they basically threw my name away. I'm a free man. I can, you know, get on here and talk about it, you know what I'm saying, to become a bigger, better person than what I became, you feel me? So, like, naturally, homie, that's my intention, to be a real honcho, to be a real original young gangster leader, and somebody with real sense of authority and a purpose. To, you know what I'm saying, say I'm really from a community and build on my community from where I started, homie, since elementary times and day. I went to Hillcrest Drive Elementary School, went to Hillcrest all 6 years, and did it all 6 years before I graduated at Hillcrest Drive Elementary. So, you know, the Baldwin Village was my neighborhood, man. You know, we broke it down into different cliques, you know what I'm saying, from the original batch of Jungle Stone, Black P Stones that come about in the Baldwin Village. I'm since 90s, a little after the shootout. So, you know, that was my life, you know what I'm saying, banging and shit, man. And it was just a way of life for us, coming about with the green, you know, out the trenches, and the red and the white for the solids and the black for, you know, our people that died to be black American people. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? As Creoles of color, we ran with the trenches and the landmark. You know, we had our own little twist to it at the same time, breaking it down into different little factions and cliques of who all, you know, be from the Baldwin Village as the Jungle Stone Black P Stones. So, you know, it was just one thing after another. Then you had other members come about, you know, some Afro-Latino, you know, he had some Mexican, maybe a Salvadorian members, you know, but I just basically choose to, you know, keep it strictly Creole of color. I don't choose sides. I don't look at it that way. You know, as a full-time member of something that we actually got started as, you know, black American people, it was always best to know about yourself. As an alternative Black Street Gang Alliance, we called ourselves the Bloods. So they want to ask us about the Bloods identity, want to ask us about anything they care to ask us about, homie. Leave comments, thoughts, and opinions. You have older founders, you have OG Mac, Omar Petit since 1993, around the time I was born into this shit. So I'm a Los Angeles blood for real. I know my history, you feel me? You got him just getting started around the time I was born to form on the East Coast in Rikers Island, you feel me? Doing 50 years, 2 life sentences. So I do my research. He coming from New York, you feel me? The only blood out there, 93rd Street, Gangsta Bloods, 183rd Street, Gangsta Bloods, and maybe a few other, blood organizations, with the Paul, they got certain identities, to kind of give they mark as the New York East Coast faction, East Coast Bloods is the UBN, United Blood Nation. That originally started in Folsom Prison, right here in California State, in Folsom State Prison, and due to Peabody and his formation since mid-late 80s after going to jail for 123 years. He was on a 168-year sentence, but they reduced his time down by some time, you feel me? And gave blood only 123 years. So the big homie, he was originally from Divin Lanes, a Divin Lane blood gang member, but since then he basically went to jail mid-late 80s, and formed his own fraternity in the prison system. So when he got that prison gang started, the UBN on the West Coast, mid-late 80s, early 90s, just a little about 5-6 years before I was even born, he got, the UBN started in the prison system. Been down for 123 years already and did probably about 30-40 years of his 123-year sentence. So Peabody is no joke. I know Peabody. Filled out Peabody. I just did recent, research on Peabody on Street Gangs TV and streetgangs.com with Alex Alonzo. So he get a lot of information. He do real gang research. He got his own website. This is official stuff that you can look up. Gangs that even went defunct that was around his African American black street gangs, Cerrillo's gangs. He got all type of stuff on his website, man. So look him up. You'll see what I'm talking about. This is the truth. It's nothing but the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's all we go off of. Original West Side Pyrus originated out of Compton. It's simply Pyru Street Boys 69, 70, and 71. This is around the time George Jackson and them formed in the prison system. The Black Guerrilla Family 276, or the Code, the Vanguard, the Black Vanguards, and the prison system in San Quentin State Prison. So, they get started 66, 67, 68. You got W.L. Nolan, Yogi, Pinnell, Big Jake Lewis. These is older brothers, not even Blood of Crip. This is before Blood of Crip even gets started good. So, this is some time, 20 years before I even was born. You know what I mean? This is the history behind African Americans or Black American people coming about is, considering themselves enslaved or, African American Muslims, Black Muslims, free people, freed African slaves, free people of color, Creoles of color, all around the civil rights time, around the civil rights movement and things like that. So, you get George Jackson in the break a record, in the prison system by 71. They killed George Jackson about August of 71. They killed George Jackson. He was a part of the Soledad Brothers, the Soledad Six, in a prison system. So, this is research I study every single day. I take notes on this every single day. You got the CCO's Consolidated Crip Organization, the Blue Notes. They kind of like in the same boat, I guess, as 80s prison gangs for African Americans amongst the Crips, Deuce and Strays. You have members, who kind of, grow from the gangs in their circles and join these actual prison gangs like the Consolidated Crip Organization, the Blue Notes. Like I say, you got the Black Guerrilla Family, which is an independent African American street gang since George Jackson, something that he founded along with a few other notable members who helped bring on the BGF. As the Soledad Six, six men who created the Soledad Six and Soledad Prison, and built that name for themselves anyway, and why they was called the Soledad Six. And then you have, Tookie. You have Lil Fee, co-founder of the Rolling 60s. Tookie being the leader of the West Side Crips. You have Monster Cody, who been in Pelican Bay, as a Crip, co-founder of the Crips, as Gangsta Crips. Running the whole Gangsta Crip card. So, that was including the Playboy Styles, Playboy Gangsters, Playboy Hustlers. That was including the Marvins, the Mansfields, the Blasting Fools, the A-Tray Gangs, original A-Tray Gangsta Crip, Monster Shanika Shakur, Monster Cody Scott. He was original A-Tray Gangsta Crip. So that's where the Trays, the Trays, they get their identity. You have the 2 times Crips, 2 times NAC. So that'd be like Raymond, his influence, amongst Crips as 2 times in their season. Then you have the Bloods, you have the LA Brims, you have the Pyrus, you know, you have all these street gangs that, you know, you have the East Side Crips, you know, where they throw it up like this and let you know this is the East Side Crips or East Coast Crip, you know, on the East Side. So you have all these gangs, you know what I'm saying, over time that kind of just shattered lives, you know, got themselves involved in kind of, you know, some of the same wrong activity that we don't really need to see in a day, you know what I mean? So this infamous Village Town Boys gang, we've only been around for about 20 years, unlike most of these other gangs I mentioned. But, you know, we want to see some change. We want to push up. We want to see the neighborhood is, you know, not so well hooked on drugs. You know, you want to see it clear. You want to see that it ain't an African-American community. It was torn apart. But an alternative black street gang alliance, we had to fight off, you know, all these creeps. We know we want to see, you know what I'm saying, a middle-class black community. You want to see the Baldwin Hills as our community as a roughly middle-class black community. You don't want to see the streets torn apart like that. Don't nobody want to be faced with that kind of, you know what I'm saying, set up shop kind of, you know, gang activity around them all the time. All you're going to get is somebody trying to break in your car, steal your battery, break in your home, you know, go for drugs and, you know, spend all your jewelry on, you know what I'm saying, something that they want to just go, you know, kind of go, you know, get hooked on, like crack cocaine, to make a double up off crack cocaine, to make an easy come up. You know, all this stuff that's been, you know, kind of putting a burden on us. So, you know, you want to see all these migrants and wrongdoing, negative kids since CYA, since 80, sending them to youth authority and all this. Just get the hell out of our streets, you know. I've been through all that. I'm 34, going on 35 years old. I'm getting old, you know. I'm up in my 30s now from my younger years, from 20-something, 25-something years ago. And back then, it was just rough, you know. It was just, you know, gang activity on the street. The gang injunction wasn't probably, you know, as well as, you know what I'm saying, it is now, along with what Trump is enforcing. So, you know, a lot of shit is crazy. You know, a lot of people that suffer behind, you know, murders and attempted murders and being paralyzed behind, you know, stupidity and negativity. And it's just, you know, it's not eligible now. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff is prohibited. It ain't welcome. It's just, you know, literally not welcome. And we want to, you know what I'm saying, be better people overall. If we had to fight you off, we will fight you off. We had to report you, go either way on you, we'll do that. That's what you asked for, homie. We don't want to think straight on. People want to get out here and keep accusing these names. You know, we got big names for ourselves. Like I just say, the City Stones just packed me out. So, you know, the whole trip out with that whole jumping people shit, not knowing why you did it, you know, I'm against that, homie. I don't really approve of that. You know, we done gave up our description around the neighborhood. We done shared space for a long time. We done had problems after problems, came to agreement to peace treat and kept falling out. You know, it's time to push up and say the Baldwin Village is our neighborhood, homie. We need to make it a lot safer, a lot weller. We need to clear these black peace stones out. We've been beefing with another blood hood, you know what I'm saying, for quite some time. And then escalated over just recent, you know, with the City Stones. So, you know, the whole nation is like, you know, we kind of fell out with all that, you know. And we own an independent organization, grew from that, but, you know, in the same community, in the same boundaries, how can we get along when we see, you know what I'm saying, murders and, you know what I'm saying, attempted murders and rape and molestation and, you know, homies is fighting homies because of these inside reasons, you feel me? And niggas having so many inside problems and personal issues amongst each other. We got to really kind of just say, nah, man, this is enough, you know what I'm saying? We don't need to really, you know what I'm saying, feel this no more. We got better housing opportunities that's supposed to be coming about. We got to press these people and think straighter for better housing options, you know, to clear our mind about how to squeeze and have better opportunities and hope and build on better hope, you know. So we got to help the people that's in authority, you know, more positive, educated people in authority to kind of, you know, since they're already pursuing these things that we need. We need to be looking into these things that we need for ourselves to help these people pursue these goals, you know what I'm saying, to help reach these goals that we all need to try to reach and achieve, you know what I'm saying, to be stronger people. So, you know, if you ain't listening, you ain't listening. I don't care for nobody that don't want to listen to make no change. I've been hurt by victims, you know, being lost to the street, you know what I mean, being so sidetracked by the street. I've seen a lot of losses, and a lot of my friends and associates, affiliates, and people I affiliated with and socialized with get killed, murdered. And now I can't look up and see them again, you know what I mean, and feel them, you know, understand them no more, relate to them and rap with them, or, you know, sit there, smoke some weed with them, and go hang out with them, go out and have a good outing with them. I can't do that no more because they didn't listen right. They didn't, you know, I'm a real honcho. You know, whether blood or crip, I'm for you. You feel me? As long as you're a positive person, I'm positive right with you. So, like I say, I always been through some shit that, you know what I'm saying, I know other kids is going through way worse. I overcome a lot. You know, I lost my mama to cirrhosis. I lost my mama to, you know what I'm saying, losing her mother and stressing so damn hard. She done got sick and died from cirrhosis of the liver, drinking too hard, falling out here in the street. So I don't want to see that for nobody else and they people. I'm getting over here talking educated, and, you know what I'm saying, and how she taught me to be, other than her, you know, her alcohol addiction. You know what I'm saying, and overdosing off alcohol, you know, catching cirrhosis. You know, it's basically like the same thing when you know what I'm saying, your liver is damaged off alcohol. You done basically overdid it. You know, so now as a female, you gotta suffer, and you know what I'm saying, body can't heal your livers in time. You suffer from severe liver damage, you know what I mean, and eventually it take you out this world. So that's what happened to my mother. That's why I don't got my mother in my life now. You see what I'm saying? It's real shit going on. You dealing with orphans, you dealing with less fortunate people, you dealing with foster kids, you know, belonging foster care, and they AWOL and they getting killed out here because of gang violence and gang activity, other influences. We need these babies to be a lot more level-headed about who their parents is, you know, who the hands, you know, why the system is taking care of them, everything, you know what I'm saying? So it's a hot mess right now, homie. We don't get a lot of people to want to listen and understand, you know, the shit that we suffering from, the shit that we go through, homie, is not no joke. You gotta, you know what I'm saying, make sure that we got our heads above water and we understand our own lives, you know, and what it took to even, you know what I'm saying, live the next day to see the next day. You know, a lot of people are dead before they know it. You don't want to be that individual. You want to be somebody a lot more powerful than that, homie. That know you got your vision and game on point. You got something to show for it. Moms and pops wasn't so perfect as good parents and decent parents, but I still got through to have life in me, homie, to have God with his hand on me and good people in my favor to help me see me on my way and have some type of education in the sense that I go out here and get hooked on drugs and get work and you know what I'm saying, those kind of things. So as a gang leader, I want to do the same thing to give it first best impression and say, nah, gang banging was never about what you thought to set you up. And, you know, and brainwash, even though it's a lot of crooked ass people who join gangs and do those kind of things, they detach. You feel me? These people that don't really have a real good sense of authority. So if I can make the first best impression to give any of my people, you know, and other peers the right impression of how to really live, knowing they want that opportunity and want to see better for themselves, I'm here for you. You feel me? So, you know, the police can figure me out on here. I don't care. I'm doing this for the community. I done report a few fools to the police when either we on you, whooped your ass, whatever. It was to get you to wake up and realize that ain't how the game goes. At least not for us American black people and free people of color, Creoles of color who want to see some type of difference. You feel me? That's what I got to deal with. And it's a lot of other kids like me. It's a lot of other kids less fortunate like me. Maybe just say when it comes to a street gang, getting robbed for their phones and shit like that. I don't want to see that for nobody. So it's always best to be a better person and not have that, you know, burden on you, knowing you went out there and did wrong and now you got to suffer for major consequences, you know, real big prison time, even death, dealing with people wrong and getting that people wrong and sideways. So, you know, you want to have that mind fixed, you want to have your screws on tight, you know what I'm saying, and just try to live and be a more of a positive person as time goes on. I pray for everybody out there, you know what I'm saying, who's been, you know what I'm saying, victimized by these wrongdoing immigrants. We got to get them deported. We got to see that they get back, you know what I'm saying, to their home country of origin, and you know what I'm saying, they are forced to be removed and fined for not, you know, leaving our country. Even legal migrants, like I say, you got to leave our country. This is a fair warning from the Saint that we want to see our city turned over, you know what I'm saying, it's strictly for American people. Trump is not playing, you know, while he in office, he'll be doing the job of getting rid of 13 million migrants, and already so far has got rid of 2.2 million migrants so far, something close to 2 million migrants have self-deported or forcibly been removed from our country, you know what I'm saying, under deportation rules and regulations without due process. Some of these sanctuary cities is no longer a sanctuary city where ICE have full authority to, you know, put in a process of removal and come to remove these migrants from our local and residential communities and, you know what I'm saying, get these migrants back to their home country of origin and have them forcibly deported and fully removed from the country without due process, you know what I'm saying? So these kids will be, you know, sent to where they need to be, and we'll be, you know, well more better off American people, I feel, you know what I'm saying, with a better American dream at hand and better American opportunities, you know what I'm saying, a more neutralized, civilized, Americanized opportunities for the American people who really want to see it a more neutralized country, you know, a more stabilized, sterilized country, because, you know, that's what you're going to have to do to kind of, you know what I mean, heal for, you know, what they came here and shattered us, man. So like I said, it's the same, man. I'm going to get off of my channel, man. I'm going to just pray for everybody that's out there and just, you know, hope your minds, you know, stay intact. You know, get rid of abuse, domestic abuse in the home. You know, amongst African Americans, you know, treat your women right with respect. You know what I'm saying? A good sense of humor, good sense of intelligence. And always try to, you know what I'm saying, overcome negative people. Even if it ain't you, homie, always try to shake that party, get a hold of them kids, you know, have a right, you know, sense of authority in mind and say, you know, I'm going to just, you know, kind of look at things different and build on things different, man. It's the same, man. I'm out, man. I hope everybody have a blessed, safe evening and keep your heads above water one day at a time, man. Peace out.